We always talk about disruptive technologies on this channel, but today we want to take a closer look at how you can actually profit from disruption. So how can disruption help you to make a nice profit? For that, we will analyze some companies and assets with extremely high disruptive potential. First and foremost, Tesla, of course, but also disruptive biotech companies, and even Bitcoin.
And of course, we'll also take a look at the current progress of the Gigafactories. Then also something to laugh, because Nikola says it's the leader of both hydrogen and battery electric vehicles. Yes, no joke. And then unfortunately also some not too good news from Byton. Not much has happened on Hyperloop this week, but in turn more on an interesting air taxi company which we haven't mentioned yet, Vertical Aerospace. A lot to talk about as always, so stay tuned.
Before we start, the usual disclaimer: we are not financial advisors, so please do your own research before investing. We merely provide you with our opinions. And if you have watched our videos before, you know that our channel is about all disruptive technologies. We didn't want it to be a pure space channel, because that would mean not being able to talk about so many other amazing developments which are currently reshaping the world we are living in. Of course, Elon's companies are at the forefront, but there's a lot more going on. That's why we often talk about Hyperloop, flying air taxis, and even fusion energy from time to time, or biotech. A disruptive technology is a new emerging technology which is superior to the old one. The old one in this case being disrupted. Therefore the name. The horse as a transportation mode has been disrupted by the automobile. The oil lamp as a means to light the night has been disrupted by the electric light bulb. The radio by the TV, and so on. Now we can witness the disruption of diesel and gasoline cars by electric cars in front of our very eyes. You can also witness the disruption of old rocket companies by SpaceX with reusable rockets. But the question now, of course, is how can you use this knowledge to personally profit from this? Well, in order to answer this question, first, we have to understand how disruptive technologies grow and how we can utilize that growth pattern. If you look at the historical charts of how new technologies were adopted, we can see an extremely similar behavior of vastly different technologies, such as railroad, automobile, or the television.
They all start slowly, then enter a phase of rapid rise until they reach saturation and the growth curve flattens. This growth curve is called a logistics S-curve. It can be described by a quite simple function that can be written as x0 is the value of the midpoint or the point of symmetry, L is the maximum value, so the point of saturation, and K is the growth rate, which defines how steep the curve is. So it is in its core an exponential function, which is mirrored in this case at the coordinates 0 and y 0.5. We see that it first rises exponentially and then flattens in the same way as it rose after reaching the midpoint. This defines perfectly how disruptive technologies grow. And that is also the reason why we are 100% sure that gasoline and diesel cars will be completely replaced by electric cars in 10 to 20 years. Every new technology which has some real benefits over the older one grows in this way, every single one. Okay, cool, but how can we profit from it? Well, the simplest way is to search for companies that develop disruptive products. Tesla is of course the most famous example. If we look at the valuation of Tesla, we can see that it rose from about $15 back in 2010 to currently around $1,000. It therefore rose by a factor of around 60. If you invested $1,000 back in 2010, you'd now have $60,000. Because Tesla's products are super disruptive, the valuation of the company of course also rises hand in hand with the adoption curve. Therefore, we also witness an exponential rise. Now, of course, it is not purely exponential because the markets are often very irrational and sometimes people panic and panic sell, but we have to look at the Tesla stock in the logarithmic chart, not the linear chart, in order to understand its growth.
And now with the logarithmic y-axis, the growth suddenly doesn't look so incredible anymore. And you see that it will certainly continue growing in a similar manner as it did. Moreover, since electric cars are at least 10 to 20 years away from saturation, there's a lot more room for the Tesla stock to grow. So then, does investing in Tesla stock still make sense? Of course. Looking at this chart and combining it with the knowledge that electric cars are probably about here on the adoption chart of the logistics S-curve, it's a pure no-brainer to extrapolate that the Tesla stock will be worth at least 10 times more in the future. So how do you invest? Well, simple. BTFD. BTFD stands for buy fucking dip. Every time when the market panics and people sell for whatever reason, you buy like a maniac and you wait for the next time when this happens again and you never sell. Every time the idiot media writes doom and gloom headlines, you buy because you know more than the others. You know how disruptive technologies grow and you are sure that Tesla has huge potential. You just buy every time the Tesla stock dips and hold it for many years. And of course, you can do exactly the same with other disruptive companies or technologies.
Bitcoin is certainly also such a highly interesting asset class because it promises extremely high returns and has the potential to completely disrupt the financial industry, central banks, and also old fiat currencies like the dollar or the euro. Bitcoin's growth can also be only understood if you look at the chart like the Tesla chart with the y-axis in logarithmic scale. Then suddenly you realize that it's just normal exponential growth behavior. But we can see that it slows down already because more and more people already have it and use it. But even so, there is still huge room to grow, probably, as insane and crazy as it sounds, a factor of 100 or more in the next 10 years until billions of people will use Bitcoin or in general blockchain-based currencies.
Another area with huge disruptive potential is biotechnology. We think that the next big revolution will be longevity. There's an insane amount of companies which have the goal to slow down aging and combat age-related diseases. Examples of such companies, which are publicly traded, so therefore you can buy their stocks, are for example Lineage Cell Therapeutics with a highly promising chart, then Gixuan Corporation, or Unity Biotechnology, just to name a few. These companies all have stocks that are quite low and stable, so they are just waiting for the next surge to happen. And rejuvenation technology is also growing at an exponential rate. Just watch some interviews with David Sinclair and Aubrey de Grey from the last 10 years to see the insane progress happening in the field of rejuvenation technology.
So now the rule book. Follow these 9 simple rules and you can make a lot of money in the stock market or with any disruptive asset in general. 1. Identify disruptive technology sectors. 2. Identify promising companies in these sectors. 3. Look at the chart and the market valuation to estimate the growth potential. 4. Look at the CEOs and the company culture. Is it good or is there something shady going on? 5. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. 6. Buy the stock only when it looks pretty low or when it dips. 7. Always think long term. Buy and hold, wait and be patient. 8. Please ignore the media. 9. Wait for at least 5 years and then enjoy profit. If you follow these 9 simple steps, you can make some serious money with disruption. We did so with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and without these investments, we wouldn't have been able to start this YouTube channel here. We want to now start more and more investing in disruptive stocks. We will keep you updated on the progress, of course. If you know of any potentially disruptive or highly interesting companies for investing, let us know in the comment section.
And now let's finally take a look at the disruptive processes themselves. Tesla is expanding like crazy with their Gigafactories. The Model Y expansion at Giga Shanghai looks more and more finished, while at Giga Berlin, cranes have been erected, which means that the construction of the factory's main structure has already started. It's incredible to see the fast progress at Giga Berlin, which totally surprises us, to be honest. We have never witnessed such insanely fast progress of any type of construction work in Germany. Comparing the current progress at Giga Berlin to Giga Shanghai, this is about where Giga Shanghai was in February 2019, and we have the first Chinese-built Model 3 rolling off the assembly line in November, 9 months later. So we can assume that in 9 months from now on, so in early April 2021, we will have the first Model Y rolling off the assembly line at Giga Berlin, with full production start by June or July in 2021.
And now something to laugh, but also accompany as a negative example of what to certainly avoid when investing. We're talking about Nikola, of course. Their CEO Trevor Milton posted this highly entertaining bit on Twitter. So Nikola, according to him, is the leader of battery and hydrogen vehicles. Funny, because we thought Tesla was the leader in battery vehicles, with around 500,000 cars being produced this year alone. And Nikola has not even a freaking factory yet. Get this, they don't have any factory yet. No factory. They didn't even start construction on a factory yet. Nothing. And as for hydrogen, we are very curious as how they would want to build a giant hydrogen station network across the entire US. All that, of course, in time to counter the Tesla Semi, which can already use existing electric charging infrastructure and which is now entering mass production and will come out in large quantities in the next 1 to 2 years. So anyways, Nikola serves as a perfect example of what to avoid when investing. Their whole business model sounds unrealistic, to say the least, and we don't see them having viable products anytime soon. And when they will then finally be able to release their truck and come to market with it, the Tesla Semi will have already killed them. Or do you think we are maybe too harsh on them? Let us know what you think in the comment section.
Another company that rose high and fell deep is Byton. We often talked about Byton in our videos, if you can remember, because we like giant screens. And the Byton M-Byte is the absolute manifestation of screen overkill, which we of course absolutely loved. You probably also remember that Byton wanted to release the M-Byte in China in this year and in the US next year. But now reports are surfacing that around 1,000 Byton employees haven't received any wages since March. Byton's CEO also addressed their US employees, stating that many layoffs in the US are inevitable, but ensuring that all salaries until now will be paid. And apparently, Byton's Nanjing factory and their offices in Beijing and Shanghai are also closed. So it's really not looking good for Byton. Sad to see this company putting a Faraday future on us. We really had high hopes for them, although Faraday future is officially still not dead and keeps coming back from the dead every time. So who knows? Maybe Byton can survive after all.
Meanwhile, regarding air taxis, an interesting company that we haven't mentioned yet is Vertical Aerospace. They now have a new flight test engineer, Dean Moore, who left Boeing for Vertical Aerospace. A very smart decision, we'd say. This air taxi can carry a pilot plus 4 passengers, will be able to reach speeds of 240 km per hour and has a range of 160 km or 100 miles. This is quite a lot more than, for example, the CityAirbus, about which we spoke in last week's video, which you can watch right here. And they want to have it FAA certified by 2024. We wish Dean Moore best of luck at Vertical Aerospace, and we sincerely hope to see this company succeed.
So if you want to stay up to date in the world of disruptive technologies, just check out the other episodes of the JS Disruption Report.
So thanks as always for watching, and then on to the future.
How do I say? Of the other episodes. For watching and no.